Evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Selectmen's meeting for August 2nd, 2021. It's 6:29 as we speak. Tonight, Vice Chair John Blinn is still out. He had a medical procedure, and we wish him well and hope he'll be back for the next meeting. Beth, want to call the roll?
Select Chair, Mr. Britton.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. Talion.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. DeRoche.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. Coy.
Here.
Note for the record, we have interim town manager, Mr. Colby, and we also have Mr. Forbes from Underwood Engineering joining us tonight.
Very good. Jay, you want to lead on the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We've got the minutes from July 19th. I'll take a motion on that, please.
Make a motion to approve the July 19th, 2021 meeting minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Bill. Any comments? If not, I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0-0. Any public comments? And I haven't seen any, so we'll move forward. The next item up is the selection of the water operator. Mr. Forbes. Just pull that mic right in front of you if you would. Thank you.
Get this where I can see both screens. So I have a brief presentation here. Feel free to interrupt with questions. I welcome them at any time. So here we go. Introductions. I've been with this project now for about 2 years, and I serve as the project manager. We have a number of engineers in Underwood that's been involved. Many of you may have met our field engineer, John St. Pierre, couldn't be here today. And often I'm accompanied by our president, Keith Pratt, but he also couldn't be here today. So in any event, my focus of my presentation is all about the contract operator that we need to have for the water system. I'll go through a little background, why we need an operator, what those responsibilities might be, how we went about coming to a recommendation, soliciting input from others.
Excuse me, is that sun really bothering you at this point? Because we can take an...
I can't see Greg so well, but I don't need to.
Okay, as long as
fine.
it doesn't, it's not infringing on you being able to read.
Not at all.
Okay.
That's fine, really. So why do we need an operator? I know that you've, for years, had a fire suppression system. Well, this is a whole lot more complicated, and there are some significant laws and rules and regulations about this. If you want to get into the weeds on it, Part ENV DW 502 is where you'll find all of the requirements, not just for an operator to be licensed and certified, but also for a public water system to have an operator, which ones need it, and what grades operators are required. There are formulas. Basically, it's determined on the complexity of your system. And for this system, a grade 1 for treatment and a grade 1 for distribution is what the state has determined, according to their formulas, as a requirement for operations. Now, even though grade 1 goes up from there, there's actually a lower grade 1A, so we're not quite as simple as it gets, but we have complexity here. And just to remind you of some of those complexities, we have, in treatment, we have chemical addition. We need to maintain a proper balance for disinfection and for corrosion control. In terms of distribution, It's far more complex than what you used to have with distribution. Yes, we have a pump, yes, we have pipes, and we have hydrants, but we also have cross-connection control prevention, backflow prevention. We have chemical sampling around the distribution system to ensure corrosion control measures are being met, no lead and copper problems and such. So there's some training involved to get the licenses, and some time ago it was determined that it would be in the best interest of the town to hire a contract operations firm who specializes in this kind of work. We looked and talked a lot about how those the distribution of responsibilities might be considered. And what we came up with was a distribution where the town would still have a significant involvement for managing the billing process, managing the customer service interaction, being that liaison for the operations, application forms and whatnot. Some of the administration, I didn't really, list everything here, but that interface with the customer was felt to be an important part of the town's responsibility that would be best not to just shirk off to another entity. But the contract operations firm in concept would take over responsibilities for maintenance and operation. There's a lot to that. It includes significant water sampling and reporting requirements. Inspections, what I mean by that are things like backflow prevention backflow preventers have to be inspected. When new applicants are hooked up, those connections need to be inspected. A variety of things like that. Record keeping, operating reports. There are routine reports required that not just coming to you as the owner of the system, but going to the state and the federal government. Emergency operations is a key factor, both in who does it and how we came about our selection, our recommendation. Emergency operations, if a pipe breaks, if a vehicle smashes into a fire hydrant, a variety of things happen, and our emergencies do occur, and we need to be sensitive to that. And again, I think a contract specialist would be well suited for that. I put a bullet here for special projects because we do have one right out of the gate. And that is the conversion of the fire suppression system that you have to a potable water system. This is not a simple process, and what we've done is we've conceptualized how that would occur. We've talked to the state, and we all agree that the best entity to do this would be the people operating the system. So we included this as a special project in the request for proposals that we used to solicit a contract firm.
Is that so will that be set up as or show up as a one-time cost, the initial flushing?
It will. It will be combined with the disinfection and basically the conversion. Once the conversion is complete, those costs will be submitted to the state for reimbursement through your grant.
Okay.
They are grant-eligible expenses. This was always part of the concept for bringing potable water to Plaistow.
Sure.
And what it involves, you've got some 15 miles of distribution system. What it involves is sequentially moving, first flushing things out, making sure we're starting with clean pipes, and then sequentially moving disinfected water through the system so that you can convert the entire system to a potable water system. That's going to require close coordination with the fire department because, as you can imagine, there'll be parts of the segment, parts of the system that won't always be connected to the fire suppression side. Rather, it'll be connected to the potable water side. And the capacities of those two operations are different, and they need to be coordinated.
So what happens if we're in the middle of disinfection and there's a fire call and they're using 100,000, 200,000 gallons of water?
Right. Well, of course, it depends on what kind of fire and how big the fire.
Right.
But in a worst-case scenario, we'd have to start from scratch with the disinfection process. There would be isolation valves that would have to be opened to meet that protection of health and safety and property. And yes, that could be a very unfortunate event. We need to be sensitive and try to minimize the time that might be vulnerable to that.
And if something like that happened, would that still be reimbursable from the state?
Yes, this whole process of converting the system
Okay.
is considered an eligible expense.
Very good.
What's the elapsed time do you expect for that first?
It's going to be about a month.
Okay. So
It's, and, you know, each of the, I'll get into some more detail if you like, but each of the people we interviewed, the firms we interviewed, had slightly different approaches on how that would happen.
I saw that.
And so they would have slightly different answers to the length of time. But we envision about a month.
do both of the candidates have more highly certified operators working for them in case something came up? Either
There-
emergency or something that would be out of the ordinary, that we would need someone like that? Or do you even perceive that that would ever even happen?
Well, I certainly need to be prepared for some eventuality like that. I do feel that both firms are very well capable of meeting all those needs. It's undeniable, though, that one firm, Penachuk, has far superior depth of staff and experience in operating water systems. You know, we'll get into more of those observations in a minute, but I do think I'd underscore the point that I feel both are very well qualified and capable. So how we went about coming to a recommendation, finding firms that were interested. You know, first we talked in depth, not just with people here at Plaistow, but with the state about how do we procure these kind of services. In a sense, they are very different from a contract for construction, and maybe they're not quite the same as professional services. We made the observation that the intimate knowledge that's involved in flushing and managing this conversion was such that the best firm that would be suited for this work would be the firm that is selected for operations. Your operations contractor, gaining that intimate knowledge, knowing which valves are easy to close and tighten, where they're located. That learning curve has a very real benefit to whoever's operating it, and vice versa. Whoever's operating it will have a benefit in understanding that they'll develop because they're operating. So what we did, we worked with the state to identify the universe of firms that we thought was able to do this. And rather than just putting something out in the newspaper as an ad like you would for a construction project, this is so specialized that we felt we should, you know, send an invitation. And so the New Hampshire DES has a listing, you can find it on their website, of firms that they have approved and used or see using useful for contract operations. This list, however, I will say, is really more geared towards the small community, you know, transient systems, very small systems that, you know, might service a small apartment complex or a few houses. Not all of these, and most of them, are not capable of managing a municipal system. There are also people that are firms that we knew that were working in the area that might be interested. So we identified 5 additional firms, and of these 40 firms, we identified 10 that we thought had a reasonable chance of being interested in this project, and we sent them a letter inviting them to let us know if they're interested, to send us their qualifications, and we received 10 responses to that request. I'm sorry, went out to 10 firms. We received 5 responses to that request. Those 5 firms were Hampstead Area Water Company, Penachuk Water Service Company, New England Service Company, Utility Partners, and Whitewater, Inc. Of those 5 that had expressed interest enough to send us qualifications and a letter of interest, only 3 submitted proposals. We then reviewed those proposals and chose to interview just 2. Whitewater had sent one in. We chose not to interview them for several reasons. Most notably, their pricing was significantly higher than the other 2. And we felt looking at the proposals, that these other two would certainly be the front runners. So the review of proposals took place. We interviewed Hampstead Area Water Company, HOSCO, and Pennachuck. Interviews were held on March 16th. Again, I want to stress that both firms, in our opinion, a unanimous opinion of the interview committee, was that both are very well suited, well qualified, and experienced. And we also concluded that costs were so similar, and there were differences in how they were presented that were really narrow enough so that we felt that we shouldn't even be talking about costs. We didn't factor that into our review. The operations cost the first year, very similar. Flushing and disinfection, also very similar, a little bit wider gap, but actually those numbers flip-flop when you look at some of the changes to the system relative to the final hookup. So there's really nothing in the interview committee's mind that suggested price should be a factor, that this should be about qualifications. We analyzed each firm, we looked at their strengths, and really I'd point out that the major strengths, if I were to pick the most important things we saw, Pennachuck, by far more experienced with water system operations of various sizes. They have many operations throughout the state, some far more complex and detailed than Plaistow's system. That depth of operating staff is there for use. They have in-house laboratory capability, which helps. They did an excellent job on their presentation and interview. I will point out, although we didn't think it was a factor, but I think it's important to kind of full disclosure to recognize that Pennachuck is considering becoming a customer of the town of Plaistow. Their Twin Ridge development is the largest. They have another one off of Sweet Hill Road, and I believe there's even a third, and I'm forgetting the name, just on the other side of Sweet Hill Road, that they are considering hooking up. I understand they want to do that, and we're waiting for an application process and such, and some policy decisions to resolve just when they're going to hook up and commit to that. But it is something that, if they're operating the system, you'd probably want to know about. So we just bring it up. Hampstead Area Water Company has strengths as well. Their local experience is excellent. They are actually the contractor, another bullet later down, for P2 and P3. They have been utilized by the town of Plaistow for emergency repairs in the past. Some of their people live in town here. They're close. They're right down the road, right in Atkinson, and they're available. I think that would suggest a faster response time. Their construction capabilities are very significant, and again, in comparison to Pennachuck, they're just much better. Another full disclosure issue, which we thought a lot about whether or not this would matter, but I just want to bring it to your attention, is that technically Hampstead Area Water Company is the purveyor of wholesale water to you. Even though the water starts in Manchester Waterworks facilities, goes through Derry, goes through Windham, goes through Salem, it is Hampstead Area Water Company who will own the meter at the East Road Pump Station and who will be billing you for the water consumption.
Very interesting.
Per your agreement. So again, full disclosure, we didn't feel that really made a difference in this section, but I wanted to let you know that.
Where is Pennachuck located? Where are they headquartered?
Nashua area.
Okay, thank you.
So our recommendations in a nutshell, again, I want to stress either firm is very capable. This is an enviable position. You've got two excellent choices. Given the local knowledge and experience, along with the close proximity for emergency response, it's recommended that a contract for operations be awarded to HOSCO. And so with that, that's my presentation on operations. I do have a brief update on the project as a whole, and I can also answer any other non-related questions. But first, any thoughts or questions about operations?
Is the reason that you are recommending Hampstead just due to their prime location? because they're closer to us, or
No. I think,
Pennachuck is, even though they're headquartered in Nashua, they basically have a number of different water systems through
Right.
New Hampshire.
right. It's really, I think, again, I'm not sure I can speak for the entire interview team, but the impression I got from the conversations we all had was that there was a high value given to the idea that Hampstead Area Water Company is intimately familiar with this system, that they have been proven reliable. You've worked with them. They've done emergency repairs. Yes, their emergency response time is likely to be better because they're close by, but I think that the knowledge of the system is a big factor to recognize. They've been in here. They've seen what the pipe is like when they've opened up a hole because of a repair that's needed. They have built the water tank up on Sweet Hill Road. They are building the pump station for you on East Road. That knowledge of those key components of your infrastructure is unmatched by anyone else. I mean, they got the guys who are building it. So they are the recommendation for a variety of reasons. It's more of the strengths that I mentioned as a whole.
Greg, you were part of the interview panel too, right?
Yes, I was.
Have an opinion of what you thought?
I think, I echo, Gene's, recommendation, and also, I think the emergency response time and the like, I think was a big, factor, and, with Hawk being as close as they are, but I know, if I remember correctly, that Pennachuck didn't necessarily have a lot of their own construction equipment, and they would be relying on subcontractors to do emergency repair work, if I'm remembering correctly. So, that was one of the reasons in that area why we tended to lean towards Hawk. But as Gene said, both of them are very, very capable. But I think as a whole, I do think that the experience-wise, building, the two biggest points of the whole system, we did lean towards, the Hawk side of things.
Makes sense.
I will just point out one thing, is that at the time of the interviews, Hampstead Area Water Company had not yet been awarded the pump station work. So they did end up bidding that and winning that bid. I'm not sure the award date, but I don't think we have that in place yet.
Yes.
I move that the municipal drinking water system operation and maintenance contract be awarded to Hampstead Area Water Services Company, HAWSCO, for a 3-year contract term. The awarding of the contract also includes the responsibility for flushing, disinfection, and conversion to make a portable water system with separate grant-eligible pricing.
Very good. Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion, gentlemen?
The only thing I'd ask on one part of where it says like what the town would be responsible for, the billing and things like that, is there any thought that maybe it might be better off even enrolling that in with Hampstead as well? Do we have the resources in the town hall to do the billing, or would we have to hire for those positions?
I believe that we have the resources already within town hall to be able to handle the majority of that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but usually the contract operator would also, with the meters, I mean, in this day and age, the meters are either, they're at the worst, they're a drive-by read, depending on the level of service. Some of them I know now will report over Wi-Fi information back. So meter reading is very easy. And especially in the beginning where we'll have a limited amount
Right.
of them, we should be able to, if we do like quarterly billing, all the information will be reported back almost instantaneous. We will purchase the software to piggyback our financial system that we already have and that we're utilizing in the tax collector's office. And I would envision the bills going out and then being paid right through the tax collector's office.
All right, I just
So,
wanted to make sure we had the resources.
yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Any other questions, gentlemen? If not, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 400.
Thank you. If you have another minute here,
Sure.
you probably have this in your packet of information. I hope we got it to you in time.
We do.
But if you have any questions, I'll just do a quick run-through. I mean, P1, if anybody's driven by Wentworth Ave, you'll see that the base course paving is in. That road is 100% better than it was.
200% better. I just drove over it tonight.
It's a market improvement. We actually have installed in the P1 all of the water mains, with the exception of the mains in about 1,200 feet in Atkinson. That has been held up because of a problem getting PVC pipe. The Hempstead Area Water Company, which will own all that infrastructure in Atkinson, has a standard of plastic pipe. And so there were some delays with that, but it's really cleanup time in Plaistow.
Great.
So, we're just starting on East Road Pump Station. Hampstead Area Water Company has cleared the site. Next week, they're envisioning starting to do excavation and dewatering. So there's not much to see there yet. The tank,
You received the last permits from the state.
yes, we got all the permits that, we needed that before we could award, and that did hold things up. It was really not just the state, but then the Army Corps of Engineers put a delay on it for them to review it on top of it, so. P3 tank is complete, 100% done. We are holding retainage through the warranty period, which will be released when that time frame is up. And P4 is scheduled to be done upon the conversion of the distribution system, which won't be done until after the pump station's done, so basically in the spring. So for now, what we are doing, and you may see some of our people out, we are working with a independent archaeological consultant who is doing some Phase 1B archaeological investigations, which is part of the NEPA review, environmental review process that is required for your grant. And so we'll wrap this up, we'll wrap up the final design, and we'll be bidding that later this year. And with that, if there are any questions overall on the project or any component, be
Well,
happy.
you couldn't have picked a more terrible year to try to do dewatering.
You know,
I mean, the gods weren't with you on that one.
it's going to be an interesting summer, I think, the rest
Yeah,
of it.
I think so.
I don't think the ground level is all that much different because it's always been a swamp there.
Yeah.
But if we keep getting that rain, it can really interfere with the
Right.
operations.
Well, best of luck. Thank you very much.
I
Thank
do
you
have a
all.
question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jay.
Over off of East Road, I noticed they're starting to clean up some of the torn up yards. Closer to the 125 side, they started there. Are they working their way back towards the pump house to clean up some of those yards?
They're also waiting a little bit for the weather.
Yeah.
Technically, although
Because there's been a lot of washout with all
Well,
the
not the
rain,
washout,
too.
but oddly enough, I mean, if we knew it was gonna rain, we probably would have tried to seed it.
Yeah.
But generally, we don't allow seeding through July and half of August.
Okay.
Because the summer, it just won't germinate.
Right.
And so that final loam and seed, they'll be doing that in a couple weeks and wrapping that up.
Okay.
But yeah, they'll be working that way.
And just one of the other things I noted was on the corner of Sunrise Terrace, I live down there, there's a drain at the end of the road, and it seems like there's some of the work, the water that runs off to that drain is just pooling around it. And I didn't know if that was gonna be part of once you're done cleaning up that area, you're gonna
Yeah.
build that up a little bit, because now the water's like running right off and goes around the drain.
I'll have to look
So-
into that. The intent is to put things back the way we found them.
Yes.
But if it was that way to begin with, you know, whether we can fix it or not depends on just how close we are and what we're doing.
Okay.
But either way, I'll look into it. I'm not aware of that situation. But thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Yep, but it's, you know, it's been a smooth project, from what I see on East Road, so you guys have been doing a great job, so
Oh,
thank you very much.
Yeah. And I will credit DeFelice Construction for working so well with us.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Right.
Thank you, Gene.
Next on the docket is the Old Holden Day update. And I'm assuming you gentlemen can talk to me about that, or talk to us about that?
Well, it looks like they will have the funding to what they need it. So everything should go forward, the donation tonight, and I think there's a few more coming in that she feels pretty confident on getting. So it should hit the budget item. We know for the detail, that's already covered out of the detail fund. It's in the budget for the Boy Scouts as always to do the cleanup.
Oh, great.
And, we know the road race, the Lions already have that mapped out, which will be a little bit different route. So-
Excellent.
So it looks like we're in pretty good shape there.
Did we get a total cost?
Of everything, I think she's looking between 65, 7,000.
Okay,
That'll be everything, and she should be able to get there.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else in regard to that, or we set?
No, that should be it. It's good news that it looks like we're gonna at least have something, right? Granted, it won't be a town hall. You know,
Next year.
That'll be next year.
Next year.
Because that's where it should be, right? It should be here.
Right.
But it's definitely, at least it's something for the town to look
That's
forward
right.
to. It's been a long year and a half.
Next year, we can rival Kingston.
There you go.
Next up on the docket is the Reed Mechanical invoice, which is in here. This is for the third floor where the building department used to be?
Yes, there was a leak in the upstairs office that was noticed, and the maintenance supervisor, Mr. DeBonis, had investigated and the like, found that the condenser unit up there is either failed or is going to fail, so has received a quote that's in front of you for a little over $3,000. So where it's the unexpected, but we also have an expendable trust fund for building systems, you know, bringing it to the board, given, you know, the budget the way it is this year. And since that money really has not been utilized for a few years, thought that it would be best utilized by coming to the board to pay for it out of that trust fund.
I
So
agree.
that's why, you know, we bring that tonight and, you know, looking for a motion to do that.
Okay.
Chair?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to pay the Reed Mechanical Corp. Invoice dated July 12, 2021, in the amount of $3,010 from the Expendable Trust Fund / Building Maintenance System.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 400.
Pass out the minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Approval, looking for approval to go into approval of prior executive session minutes. Do I have a motion on those?
Make a motion that we approve the July 19th, 2021 non-public session minutes.
Second, whenever anybody's ready.
Are we sealing these?
They were not sealed.
I'll second it.
Any discussion, gentlemen? If not, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 400. Next up, town manager's report.
All right. In your packet, I just put together a quick bullet list. From the town manager's office, today we did hold the pre-proposal meeting for the trash and recycling RFP. I believe we had 5 or 6 interested parties show up, asked a bunch of very good questions and the like. One of the things I want to bring to the board's attention, and it was kind of the consensus there, kind of asking if we could push the changeover, if you will, or the awarding of the contract out to January of the following year because of the short notice with many of these firms. Because of the size of Plaistow, they would be ordering a new truck, most of them would be, and there's a 12 to 14 month lead time
So
on
they're
getting.
looking for a year from January?
Yes, so basic,
2023?
yeah. They said, if we, do go forward this soon, it would be, I think consensus of those that were there would be considerably higher because of them having to lease, rent, and, not having the equipment available. Also, point made, as we all know, a very difficult time in hiring people as well. And given a short turnaround is what they felt that the proposals could be significantly higher with trying to start it as soon as this January. So
If that happened, then what would happen to the containers that we've ordered? Would they just go into storage, or?
we would need to, that would be one bridge to cross, if you will.
Yeah.
Yes, we'd have to figure out where to store 6,000 containers. I mean, maybe it's possible that we contact the vendor and could delay shipping. I don't know. I mean, it was one of those things where, both Dee and I, Dee Voss, the Special Projects Coordinator, that we were kind of like.
When were we supposed to get delivery for them? November?
November.
I guess it'd be worth, if we decide that this is what to do, it certainly would be worth a phone call to find out how much is in production and how much is to come
Right.
out.
And then one of the things, what are we gonna do for a year? Would JRM pick up for another year?
Well, that's what JRM was at the meeting and did, hear obviously the consensus from the other, potential proposers. So, yeah, it would mean reaching out to JRM and seeing if we could extend.
Jay, you're pretty close to this. What's your opinion? You're probably closer than the rest of us to this.
Well, we're looking at paying a higher cost if we go with a contract now, right? So we're gonna have to pay to lease, we're gonna pay more. My opinion, my thought here would be, and just hearing this now, would we may have to hold off and maybe reach out to JRM and see. But we would need to make a few phone calls about the barrels.
Right.
JRM,
Is
this is,
July 1st a possibility?
right, can we,
Could we, instead of going for the whole year?
Yeah, meet halfway, right?
Excuse me?
You'd like meet them halfway on
Right.
on the year.
I mean, they said 12 to 14 months, as far as getting equipment. I mean, obviously, if we did it in July, it would be maybe a little bit better. But not speaking for them, I'm not.
No, I understand.
I think it's probably before any decision could be made, we just have to have some more input. Can the barrels be postponed? Because obviously, storing 6,000 barrels isn't an easy undertaking.
So we've already purchased them? We've already paid the bill?
That's we're in the process of finalizing the contract with them. There's just one piece of language in that contract. So as long as they didn't put the cart before the horse, so to speak, and should not have started production, but if they were assuming that, they were, 99.9%, so they'd get a jump on it, that I don't know. So we, between Dee and I, we can, start making phone calls
Great.
tomorrow and,
Okay.
line up answers,
Good.
to some of these questions.
Perfect.
So,
Okay, so I think we'll have a better handle on it after that.
right.
I'd hate to see a whole year go by.
I do, but but I understand it,
Greg, for the folks that showed up today, can you reach out to them and just throw out like a July timeframe to see
I'm sure we can, yeah.
what they think about that? Because that's, 11 months, but.
Yeah, and they might as well answer that question now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we will. As part of that, the meeting that we had today, Dee had a bunch of questions and the like, from them, so she's going to respond back out, with answers, and further follow-up. So we'll make sure we do that as part of that follow-up, so.
Okay.
Water meetings, as Gene alluded to, in East Road Pump House, has started, did have the regional partners meeting on last Thursday. Did speak to them, and as part of the contract, for those that may or may not be aware, but the MSDC charge that we owe or we buy water usage from Manchester Waterworks. We have the ability to buy 250,000 gallons per day, which 100,000 of that 250 has already been purchased by the state on our behalf. So the expiration on that other 150,000 expires, I believe it's May 1st of 2022. Now, I think back when this agreement was written, we thought that we may have water up and going this fall, but where we don't, we obviously do not have the cash being generated
Right.
for that. So I did float the idea out there of possibly delaying that purchase, because once we say no to that purchase, or if we were to say no on May 1st, then in all likelihood, it's going to go to the other partners. And I know in talking with Gene, he felt that it would be gobbled up in no time, so.
I think that's a safe thing to do. We're not going to really be pumping water until next spring. All goes right next spring.
Correct.
And even at that, how many people have we got signed up onto the system now? Do you know right off the top of
Well,
your head?
we're still, that's part of, he and I and John St. Pierre had a lengthy meeting 2 weeks ago at this point. And so we've got our, part of the list is getting a formalized system
Right.
for hooking up questionnaires, things of that nature. We will be outreaching to all the commercial accounts as well, definitely by the end of the month, but much sooner, to talk about backflow preventers and, with the changeover in the system. So there's going to be, the information coming out of town hall is going to be significant over the next few months with regards to water.
It's going to be tough on the big commercial accounts, because you've got, for instance, the Shaw's Plaza. That water comes from Haverhill. They already have that.
Right.
So they're not going to be buying anything.
No.
I think Pennachuck, if I'm not mistaken, has already got a massive system in where Walmart is. Sort of iffy if they want to start paying for water that they've already got for free, except for paying for a pump. So maybe, I would hope they would, but let's see. They're paying for fire protection, so.
What does it cost the town if we initiate the agreement for the next level of water? Is it paid as we use it, or is it?
No, we would be buying that capacity.
There's a particular cost to the town?
$3.90 per gallon per day. So to buy the other 150,000 gallons of
Yeah.
capacity would cost us approximately $600,000.
Okay.
Wow.
So, but also working on a plan with that too. So
Okay.
that, when I'll come back to the board.
All right. Any questions onto that, gentlemen?
So the infrastructure money, is that a possibility? We don't have to go into any detail, but is that a possibility of using that for that?
The ARPA money, yes, it is a possibility.
Okay, thank
So, and that's where, and the next bullet point, I received an email today, the first half of the ARPA money is coming in, and that's what, I was speaking with Gene about the use of the ARPA money, that is it possible that, because a use of that is infrastructure, water, sewer, or broadband communications. So my question was to Gene is, can we take on some of the infrastructure costs of the project by utilizing the ARPA money, thus freeing up some money maybe on the back end that the state may be willing to help us out with the MSDC charge? I mean, the other option, obviously, too, with ARPA money is the possibility of doing local hookups as well.
Okay.
So because it is infrastructure money and it's, water system. So we could possibly earmark some of that money for along those lines.
Okay.
So. Received notice today from Primex, which is, a little bit of good news because of the COVID and the pandemic and the like. Received notice today that the workers' comp, property liability, and the unemployment comp, we will be receiving premium holidays. So money basically back on those policies to the tune of around $50,000.
Nice.
So that's, at least some good news in the budget
Nice.
there.
Yeah.
Human Services Department, we have seen an increase in activity, obviously monitoring very closely, but with the moratoriums expiring on evictions and collections, I guess it's my understanding Unitil was sending out collection notices for the first time. They don't normally do that, but so we have seen an uptick in activity, in the Human Services Department. Certainly, working with all other avenues, to help, those that are affected reach out as needed. From a recreation standpoint, the rec director reported a very successful concert recently, and Bill, you can probably attest to that.
Yeah, there was Wednesday night, last Wednesday, there was well over 200 people there at the concert.
And then she said they had a very successful cruise night as well.
Cruise night was great.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, the cruise night for the first one, I know, they went into it wondering, what are we gonna get, 10, 12 cars? We had no idea.
Oh, it was great.
At one point, we stopped counting at over 45, the number of cars that showed up. They were parked everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
it was really a big night. It was a success. There was a live band there playing as well. And there were people there from all age groups really
Yeah.
walking around. It was really a success, and it'd be nice to see maybe do one more again, hopefully
That'd
this
be
year.
nice.
Highway, Route 125 island cleanups is underway. Also, we are into agreement to remove the large metal pile over there at the landfill. As Gene mentioned, and I drove over it tonight, Wentworth Ave has finalized the work that coordinated effort with Unitil and the water utility and the like to get that work accomplished, and that's pretty much done. And then Dan and his crew have been over at Park cleaning up the swales. for the last, I think, 3 days, 4 days, had rented an excavator and really doing and making a lot of headway there. And then I know building maintenance, the town forest sign that was damaged via vehicle accident has been replaced. and
That looks
is-
good.
Looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, other than that, the usual stuff coming through the office.
Excellent.
Fire, police, personnel, everything's going in the right direction, so.
Very good.
Was hoping to have an expenditure report for you guys tonight, but I should have it this week. With obviously a new month, we'll get that information. And we're going to kick off a department head meeting, I think, next week, in the budget cycle.
Excellent.
So that will start next week, so.
Is that it, Greg?
That's all I got.
Okay. Any other business, gentlemen?
Well, we go to like the selectmen reports. Obviously did the cruise night, went to the concert. Last night attended Old Home Day meeting, and we started actually talking about it, and Jay was there too, the cruise night. Maybe possibly if we can get the volunteers to help with the parking, maybe do it again that Friday of Old Home Day weekend.
Oh, nice.
You know, it would be nice if we can get enough people to help us with park the cars, open it again. It would be a nice way, make Old Home Day instead of
Is
Saturday.
there enough room?
You could do Friday night. Well, Friday night would just be the vendors really setting up there
Okay.
for Old Home Day. So it would be Old Home Day on Saturday. This would be the Friday night. Old Home Day would go into Saturday.
Okay.
So if I can get enough volunteers to help me with, parking vehicles and stuff there, and I think we should be able to. I think it'd be a great way to make Old Home Day just one extra night.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good.
And also, with Jay, attended Eagle Scout ceremony on Saturday as well.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Darrell, I got just a couple things. I attended the Eagle Scout ceremonies and congratulated Devin Paragut on behalf of the board and the town. It was a nice event, nice outside, beautiful
Nice.
day, good group of people. There were, Norm Major was there, Mark A. Pearson, the state representative. There were other dignitaries, so it was a very nice event. I did go to the bat counting event over at the Beatty site last Wednesday. It's a nice, area that they have. The bat houses that they have up didn't have any bats in them, which it's not a bad thing. It just means that the bats have a place to live around town. So, but I didn't make it. I left a little bit early for the bat counting, and they have. I was told that there was a record amount of bats that were counted, so
Wow.
that's good, I guess. On their, on their cell phones, they have these apps that can detect the frequencies of the bats, so they can tell you what kind of bats there are. So there are like 4 or 5 different bats that live in that area. So it was interesting. Talked to some of the folks that work over there. I went to the concert afterwards. That was packed. It was nice to see a lot of people out there, and I'll quote a former selectman, but it's nice to have, a low-cost, no-cost event for our residents to enjoy during the summer. So I did that.
Now, is that another item that's planned for coming back here next year?
That's
I
discussion right now.
don't know
I'm not
that.
sure what to do. Maybe there could be a hybrid, I don't know, but it gets tough. Do you go back and forth?
Yeah.
Because some bands obviously draw more than others. I don't know what the right answer is, and I know that's definitely something they'll have a discussion on.
Okay.
I also went to the cruise night. That was fun too.
That
See
was,
all the cars.
yeah.
So it was good to see all the people out. So, and then I have an energy committee meeting tomorrow or
Okay.
Wednesday. Sorry.
Greg?
So I attended a site walkthrough of the North Ave development. It's a 14-lot subdivision. It's very interesting. This is the first site walkthrough that I went through.
Where was this, Greg?
It's on North Ave. It's right before the Haverhill border.
Okay.
So if you're driving towards Haverhill, it's
Yep.
on the left-hand side. And they're dealing with a lot of little minor issues because the state wants the road to go in straight. It would help if the road could be turned in on a curve. So the abutter that's next to them, part of his driveway is part of their property.
Oh,
So he was not happy.
I bet.
Yeah. So we got a presentation from the engineer, and this coming Wednesday, the rest of the board will be there. 2 of the board members were not able to make the site walkthrough, so they will be able to vote on it. The key issue is that some of the properties have a wetland strip going through a whole series of long rectangular lots. And literally what they have to do is put gravel over that with a culvert to reach the other side of the property where they'll put the well. Because those lots, because it's low density, require 2.5 acres.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So literally, they could put everything all on that 1 acre piece, the bottom part of the lot, but they will not be able to do that. So they have gone through all kinds of different ways of trying to accomplish this. We'll see whether or not the planning board wants to allow that to happen. Having all these, they call them crossovers
Yeah.
over a wetland property.
Okay. I think should duly note that tonight we signed Maxanne Dobson and Mary, am I saying it right? Gori? G-O-R-I?
Gory, yeah.
Gori, as alternate trustees to the library. And do we have anything else coming before the board tonight? Beth, do we have anything else coming?
I think we are good tonight.
Great. Well, then I'm going to call for an adjournment at 7:26. Thank you very much, gentlemen.